Okay, so moving in the course, we would have to actually try creating a user now since we have made a user profile view. So for that purpose, we would actually have to go back to our view model class. So let's just find it quickly. It must be inside the view models folder. There it is. And the user creation at the very basic in an understanding point of view should happen when someone signs up, right? Signing in is for repeated users. Signing up is the basis of creation of a new user, a new person coming to your platform, your app. So that is where we would actually write our code, and we would specify like how we can create a user while we are signing up someone. So you could already see that we have added this task block for performing asynchronous functionality, and there's our do block inside of which we are calling the Firebase functionalities. So right here, what we could do is that instead of just performing this single functionality of create user, which is actually a Firebase function itself, we would do is that we could have um, a local constant. We could call it user data only, and this would actually be user data and result dot user, which is what we are doing here as well, but this is not in the scope of like the view model level, because this is a defined variable that we have made. It's a published property, but the other one is just a local constant that has its scope only inside the function. So no one else other than this sign up function knows that this user data exists. So why am I doing all this? So basically inside Firestore, we would actually have to populate data in forms of documents. So you could not confuse it with anything else, but rather than a basic structure is called a document inside Firestore. So in order to access all those functionalities, we would have to use the Firestore class, and inside of which we would use the Firestore. I guess this must be it. So it's the instance of this class. Basically, it's like a singleton object, I would say. And let's just assign it to some constant for now. So it would be db. Now what we do is we again use try await so that we could find out that either it fails or either it does not, because in the do block, if our try await fails, it would actually catch the exception inside the catch block. So that is why what we could do is we can have db dot collection, and the collection is asking for a collection path. So I would name that collection path users. So this is the place where all the users will be stored. And then we could have dot document, and inside document what we could do is we can have user data dot uid. So we are referencing this user data now, and basically a document will be known with its id, which is the uid. Uh, and uid is the same thing we get back after we authenticate a user. So basically we are using that same id to give the id to our user document which we are creating right now. Now we would use the set data function, because we actually need few properties for a user, right? I mean, in when we move further into the course, we would obviously have a profile image property for the user as well. They should have an id, they should have a username, they should have email, obviously, which we don't generally show inside social media apps. So for that purpose we are setting some data up, and for the basic needs, for in order to just test this functionality out, you could see that it is taking in a dictionary which says of the type string to any. So what we could do is we could start with an empty dictionary, and we can have two properties inside of here. One would be user ID, and this would obviously be user data dot uid, and the other one would be email. So I just hope that you don't confuse it, that we are just using a local constant just to get the result dot user. And what we are doing here is that we are creating a collection, and for that particular document in the collection, we are giving it an ID so that we can reference it. And inside that document, we are again giving it a field which is the of the type user ID. So if we use the user ID, we not only find that specific user, but inside there would be a field user ID in case we want to show the other users each other's user ID. Suppose we have this functionality that Instagram does it, that they have usernames, they don't show emails to other people. So something like that we can go about those lines, or either in the near future we could actually add just a separate field for username, so it becomes easier for people to have whatever name they want. And this is it. So we are using the email and the user ID, and we have the dispatch queue here. So I guess all the functionality remains the same only. But now what we would do is that we can do shift command O, and we will search user profile view, and I will tell you a shortcut to it. So you see it's user profile view. So if you just search UPV, it also shows up. So this is a handy Xcode shortcut. Again, you press on shift command O, and then you get to this screen. So now that we are here, it's time we actually not use hello world anymore. And for that purpose, we could actually have um, view model dot auth user data, or is it user data? Let me just quickly check this thing out. That Okay, it's user data. Again, I was thinking that since we are having a user which would be of the type Firestore user and not an authenticated user, so why not we rename our user data to auth user data? So it would actually make much more sense. So that's what I'm going to do. We would just add auth user data to it. We'll click on rename, and hopefully it renames everywhere. Now we can just go back to our function and check it out. So auth user data is there. We are still using user data here because it's not of our concern. And we can have inside user profile view, we can have auth user data, then we can have the UID. And if UID is not, suppose it has a nil value, let's just print out null. So let's see what happens when we launch our app right now, because from the last time I remember, I think we had signed out from the app. But let's just see. We will sign up with a new email and password, and we'll just, this time it should hopefully create a new user for us as well. And that way we would get to know if our user creation is working. Then we will check on the Firebase as well, the Firebase console, that if the functionality is working or not. So I've actually opened my Firebase console here, and we would have to go to, I guess, Firestore database in order to check like what's populated in there. So let's just wait for the app to build right now. And it's taking a few minutes, but hopefully it should just build right away. I think my simulator was closed as well, so it's taking a few extra seconds for it to launch. Yeah. So we are on the sign up page itself. So let's just name this second user second at the rate gmail.com. Then we give it a password. So it should be password 2, and when we do sign up, it did not work, and it's giving us an error which says the operation couldn't be completed. Failed precondition, the cloud Firestore API is not available for Firestore in data store mode. Okay, and we would have to fix this issue, like what's happening. So I will quickly check it out and we will tackle this problem in the next video. So I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.